Hey everybody, Black Ninja 797 here, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be reacting to your Left 4 Dead 2 hot takes. This is going to be the start of a brand new series where I end up taking your guys' hot takes from the comment section down below or within my Discord server, and I give you guys a platform for you guys to voice your opinions about the Left 4 Dead universe. And in addition to that, I am also going to be including Back 4 Blood as an option for hot takes in case you guys want to talk about that as well, since I know I have some fans of both games here on the channel. So if you guys have any hot takes of your own that you would like to have be featured in the next episode of the series, just feel free to leave them here in the comment section down below, or you can also leave them once again within my Discord server, which is going to be linked down below in this video's description. So with all that being said, if you guys end up enjoying the video, please drop a like, subscribe if you are new, and buckle up and let's read some hot takes. Alright, so this is a long one, so I'm going to read it really quickly. Left 4 Dead 1 was better than Left 4 Dead 2 in the way that Left 4 Dead 1 had more details and such. In Left 4 Dead 1, you could see your legs, you could interact with the environment, like opening fridges and stuff, you could get out of the map easier, and the glitches and stuff were fun to me. The characters in the first one were a bit more realistic, and how they interacted was good. A bad man biker, a war vet, a office worker, and a girl teenager all get and work together. In Left 4 Dead 2, you got a coach, a bad guy gambler, a redneck, which I find kind of funny here, and a news reporter all get together. Like I said, Left 4 Dead 1 is a bit more realistic character-wise. Now you could argue graphical issues and less weapons, but the graphics aren't very different. And less weapons, question mark? Everyone uses the same weapons in each game anyways. In Left 4 Dead 1, I either use the Uzi or the Chrome shotgun, and then for tier 2 weapons, I use the Spaz or the M16. I never use anything different unless I have to. The final thing is you can say less special infected, which is true, and I ain't got anything to contradict that. You can still play it so you don't have to get insta-killed by those damn fucking chargers in every fucking Left 4 Dead 2 versus I play. I know they're there too, but my teammates will be dumb as shit and will rush ahead and die. I understand they may be new, but say something, type it in like, damn. I still say Left 4 Dead 1 is better than Left 4 Dead 2 in most aspects. Left 4 Dead 2 did some things better, but Left 4 Dead 1 did more things better. Okay, that was a long one and had a lot of passion behind it, so let's summarize what happened here basically. The main thing is talking about Left 4 Dead 1 basically being better than Left 4 Dead 2. Now, there is a lot of good arguments here, and I can definitely respect all these different opinions. I think that both games are honestly great titles in my eyes. I've always seen Left 4 Dead 2 as better than Left 4 Dead 1 just because of the fact there is more content, and there's also more optional content. Like, quite literally, if you want to, you can even replicate Left 4 Dead 1 gameplay-wise in a mutation of some kind in Left 4 Dead 2, and you can get all the Left 4 Dead 1 guns and just the Left 4 Dead 1 special infect, and you can play Left 4 Dead 1 through that way. But I understand how that there are also some other aspects that you do still want to get in the second game that you can't get if you end up playing that specific mutations mode, so I understand that. The last time I played Left 4 Dead 1 was like 3 years ago in 2021, and the game multiplayer-wise is basically dead last time I played it. I haven't checked since then. I feel like a lot of players have just mostly moved on to Left 4 Dead 2 because all the Left 4 Dead 1 content is basically there, and there's just a couple different tweaks, such as getting Left 4 Dead 2 special infected on Left 4 Dead 1 maps, or getting the Left 4 Dead 2 guns in the rotation, etc. And then I also saw the comment about versus players, and I think that that's an entirely separate hot take, but it is a reasonable hot take because I actually agree with you. I don't really like a lot of versus players whenever I end up playing that game mode because typically they tend to be toxic, which you guys are funnily enough going to see a lot of that as a hot take here throughout this episode because a lot of players agree with me. Back 4 Blood's premise about taking back the world and fighting for a better future would have been perfect for Left 4 Dead 3's story, especially with the survivors disliking the military and taking matters into their own hands. And then he ends up talking about how that the game could be very similarly formatted to Half-Life 2. See, for me, this is a yes and a no. I sort of agree with it because I can see where you're trying to go with this, but it would have to be done very carefully. Because in Back 4 Blood, that was more like a B-movie in terms of storyline, where it's somewhat serious but not entirely, because in Back 4 Blood, a lot of the survivors carry that gene that makes them immune to becoming zombies, where in Left 4 Dead, not many survivors have that gene. That's why the world is basically wiped out. It's very rare. And plus also, if you end up getting near other survivors that don't have that immunity, you also can turn them into infected. So I feel like for Left 4 Dead, it would be hard to pull off that story, but I can see how that would work in your mind if you just changed a few things. You would also have to avoid doing the DLC for Back 4 Blood story, because if you try to include that, that would just make no sense, because in Back 4 Blood, there's a weird thing with the zombie cult by the end of it, and it's just very hard to explain if you never played that game's DLC. Alright, Ace of Spades is back here with the second one. He says, Chargers and Smokers are the best combo of Special Infected since you can set up insta-kills or split up the teams. And he's also got a Back 4 Blood hot take saying, the rarity system of items suck. Because I can get my favorite weapon, but the weapon I hate has 10 times better stats, and I'm forced to go with it for power. Sure, I'm fucking cracked with all the weapons at Back 4 Blood, but damn. And then he says for the second one, the firing range was super fun and should be added to Left 4 Dead 2. How you could be a special infected in the range with some friends and have access to all the weapons and equipment was super fun. I have spent more time in the shooting range than the actual act. Changed my mind. So I agree with you with the Charger idea because it's really great for a lot of insta-kill spots, but the Smoker, that's kind of harder to pull off. I'm not really as big of a fan of using the Smoker as I am the Charger. I prefer to rush with my Special Infected. I like things like Jockeys, Hunters, and Chargers. And then regarding the Back 4 Blood hot takes, I just agree with you on these. The rarity system was annoying because you would have a certain build that you would make with the card system in that game. And if you had, like, let's say a blue shotgun, and you end up having a shotgun build, but you see like a golden or legendary AK-47, even though it goes against your build, you want to pick it up because the gun is just better in a lot of different ways. But you have to discipline yourself to hold off and end up waiting for, ideally, like a legendary shotgun, or at the very least, like a better shotgun in general. And then for the firing range specifically, that should just be in any game, period. Having a social space or a hub for your community is a great idea, even if it's a little one. I remember back when Destiny used to be very, very popular, and I loved the social space that that game had. It was just so cool seeing other fans of the game that you love and be able to interact with them and see them open up, like, let's say, their rewards, or be able to talk to them, or do emotes and just have like a little dance party session. It was always super fun. I feel like that Back 4 Blood had the right idea by having a social space, and I feel like Left 4 Dead could benefit from that very much. The game is easy until an uncontrollable situation happens, like getting smoked while climbing a ladder into a ladder, making the bots shit their diapers and stand paralyzed. I mean, that's just the game in general, man. The game's supposed to work that way. The game is meant to throw a curveball at you so that way you don't get bored and always having it feel the same. That's the director in a nutshell. When reading this, I for some reason can imagine a specific scenario where you probably got really mad at the bots, which that I agree with you. The bots are fucking annoyingly bad in this game. My recommendation to you is that if you play on PC and can install mods, look up like a bot mod where you can make their AI smarter than they actually are, and the game will probably feel more fun to you, because I can understand your frustration with the AI not doing their job. Playing with randoms is one of the worst ways to play Left 4 Dead. This is pretty fair. I would say that's a 50-50 if you either get a cool dude that you'll become friends with or an asshole on the other end of that screen. I just wish more people were compassionate when they were online, like how that they are in real life, because if people were having to say these things that they do to your face, I feel like a lot more people would think before they speak. Francis is the best character in the Left 4 Dead 1 crew. I politely disagree. I think it's actually Zoe or Bill personally, but to each their own. Coach is the best character from the Left 4 Dead 2 crew. This is somewhat fair. I would say that's a tie between him and Ellis, but I still do personally prefer Ellis. I think the game is a lot more fun with mods, and fuck versus players is tacked in on the end of that, which I think is kind of funny. I definitely agree with both of these. Mods make games always better, and then versus players, they don't have the best reputation in the world right now. I like the Scar more than the M16. No, yeah, this is just straight up facts. I prefer that over the M16 too. Door spam was, and always will be, funny. If it's with your friends and you're just bullshitting around, then sure. But if it's with randoms, no. Melee weapons were a good concept, executed horribly. They should put a hit cap on zombies for every single swing, 2 for big melee weapons and 1 for small melee weapons. By the way, I also hate the knife. I'm gonna have to say that I disagree, and the reason you probably hate the knife, man, is probably because the knife actually functions the closest you're ever gonna get to this idea that you have, because if you limit what the melee weapons can do swing-wise, or have like a really high cooldown where it can only end up killing like 1 or 2 zombies at a time, that's going to, number one, make melee weapons basically pointless, and you're just going to carry pistols, and two, this is kind of what the knife was being hated on for in the first place, is that it doesn't kill things. The knife, due to its terrible swing pattern and hit registration, could only really kill like one zombie at a time. This led to players not wanting to pick up the damn thing. People want to use weapons that feel good and are overpowered. They don't want to handicap themselves unless they're doing like a challenge for YouTube maybe, but most players don't do that. New players should start on expert mode to be more careful and not as reckless and get a basic set of fundamentals right, and they should play either No Mercy or Dead Center. Then after that, they can play whatever mode they want. This is way too big of an ask in my opinion. I feel like a tutorial mode would make more sense, because then that way the players can be eased into it, and then that way they can understand the game without being overwhelmed and just thrown in the deep end. Because if you try to make a player that has never touched the game before play the hardest game mode and say good luck, and then when you beat this you can play, that's not fair. I mean, did you end up doing that? You probably didn't. You probably played the easiest game mode and worked your way up, man. I mean, no one's gonna do this. Ellis is the best character in Left 4 Dead. I agree with this. I'm totally not biased or anything. I think that Ellis is probably the best character, tied with Zoe for number one for me personally. Hard Rain is a very good concept. The idea of having to limit your supplies to yourself and the group is a great concept, and going through previous levels backwards in a changed way is a very interesting idea, but the execution of this idea in practice could have been done a little bit better. Let me answer your question by asking you a question. What ideas did you have in mind for the changes that you were thinking of? Because for me in general, I do not like Hard Rain like at all. It's my second least favorite map in the entire series. I think the execution was definitely very poor, and that's probably the reason why I don't like it, but I really don't know how you can make it any better, because the idea of going backwards through the map that you just came from, in my opinion, is boring, because I feel like it's just a copy and paste of assets, and it's making the map design feel lazy. I want the map to feel different every time I go through a level, and not feeling like I just experienced this like 5 seconds ago. I don't like the Midnight Riders, but I have a suggestion to make them better. I feel like they are a factory-made band that was created to appeal to absolutely the wildest audience without any message or purpose besides being a random rock band in the middle of a game for a spectacular finale. I feel like they are not a heavy music band. They are the embodiment of the average person's idea about heavy metal. They play generic "We're Tough Guys" songs that don't seem to have deep meaning. Now, because the rest of the comment goes on extremely long, I'm just going to summarize the general idea here, which is that basically he doesn't like the Midnight Riders. And guess what? That is 100% fine. We all have our different tastes in music, and not everyone is going to like the same types of songs. Personally, for me, my favorite genre of music is somewhere between metal and rock and roll, but I've never really read too much into the Midnight Riders music. I just thought it sounded like a cool generic rock band, and that's good enough for me. I really wasn't trying to read too much into their music and being like, yeah, this hits me in the feels, this is so relatable. I'm just like, okay, this is just really cool background scenery for the concert, which is exactly what it was. It was just cool background scenery for the concert. The Spaz 12 and the auto shotgun is better than the AK-47. I will use all three of these guns on different occasions, but I would have to say my favorite out of all of them is the AK-47, so I'm going to have to politely disagree, but they are really good guns. I like the knife. I do too, man. Really, the only melee weapon I can't stand using is the pitchfork. I think that's honestly worse than the knife, and the knife is better since it did get its buff and it doesn't have a bad swing pattern anymore. But yeah, man, I've always liked the knife. I always thought it was a cool melee weapon. It really wasn't that bad, honestly. It's dumb to kick noobs from versus lobbies. How else are they supposed to learn and play the game mode? I agree. You shouldn't kick someone from your lobby just because they are bad. It's a douchey thing to do. Everyone's gotta learn. But if someone's trolling you and they're just trying to smurf, then at that point, yeah, you can end up kicking them. I would totally understand. It's just that it's very frustrating to end up having to deal with a bad teammate, and you know they're a bad teammate, and you could easily just replace them by just vote to kick them out of the lobby. I understand it's very tempting, but it's a douchey thing to do. We all gotta admit that, man. Rochelle is better than Francis. See, whenever I see people trying to defend Rochelle as a character, the main defense that I always see them use is that Rochelle is a nice person. Being a nice person can definitely be a cool characteristic for a character, but it's only one part of them. For Rochelle, that's just the entirety of her character. There's that one single aspect. And then you have somebody like, let's say, Ellis, who is a sweetheart of a character and is really, really nice and caring towards everybody, but he's also funny, he's got some cool epic moments, and he actually is a really fleshed out character, and he's done much better than Rochelle was. The M16 is the best weapon ever. I'm gonna be honest, I never really was the fan of the M16, regardless of whether or not it was Left 4 Dead 1 or Left 4 Dead 2. I just never have been attached to that gun like everybody else say they are. I think the Left 4 Dead 2 survivors are better than the Left 4 Dead 1 survivors, because I feel that the Left 4 Dead 2 survivors have better character development because they start off pissed off as they weren't rescued from the beginning, but then as the time goes on, they learn to get along and get to know each other and stick together, plus they learn about the horrors that the military were doing, and they see that the military is bombing the hell out of New Orleans. I know they did the same in Dead Air, but we only saw the aftermath. Another thing is we literally see dead human bodies, not zombie bodies, but human bodies, meaning the military said, fuck it, and they have to decide if they are really going to take a chance on the military, but to be fair, they don't know the true extension though. But I still feel like that the Left 4 Dead 1 survivors, just like the Left 4 Dead 2 survivors, their progression and development feels good. Both the Left 4 Dead 1 crew and the Left 4 Dead 2 crew have their strengths and their weaknesses. There's just one thing that pisses me off though about the Left 4 Dead 2 crew, and that is them ignoring red flags at the end of the Parish campaign. The Left 4 Dead 2 crew blatantly ignored complete red flags being waved in their face about the possibility that the military might not be who they seem. They very well might be corrupted. They very well might be evil. They have the military bombing the hell out of the city. There is, as you say, dead bodies, human dead bodies, not zombies, but humans who were not infected that are in body bags in front of their very eyes, and they don't know what to do, but they still keep pushing for it anyways. And they don't stop to think maybe like, hey, what is the reason why the Left 4 Dead 1 crew didn't follow us when we said we were trying to see the military? Why were they hesitant? I just wish the Left 4 Dead 2 crew was more willing to end up stopping for a second and realizing that, hey, maybe our plan wasn't so good after all, we should back out, but that's not how the ending went, unfortunately. I would rather play as the jockey than the tank in Left 4 Dead 2. I'm gonna have to disagree. I personally prefer the tank, but I can see where you're coming from about preference-wise. Maybe you just like controlling the jockey better than you do the tank, because the tank could seem clunky, and also if you don't end up knowing how to use him correctly, you can lose control of him and just have an AI tank spawn in, and I can understand that that's frustrating. But if I'm gonna be playing as a guy that can pounce on survivors, I would rather be the hunter while doing that. I dislike that there are only few mutations on Xbox. You can't turn off the HUD. I want to challenge myself by not being able to see my health bar at the bottom, and I think they should have put the Last Stand update on Xbox. I can definitely understand Hot Take 1 and Hot Take 2, but Hot Take 3, it's like, I'm split, man, because on the one hand, I want everyone to be able to have access to any content update and never want to have exclusivity get in the way of that. But I also don't like the idea of updates having to handicap their potential so that way they can work on all platforms, because you can make an update massive on PC because it's basically uncapped, but when you have to put it on hardware, especially last-gen hardware that is really old by this point, the Xbox 360 came out in 2005, you have to end up having some compromises for it to run on that piece of equipment. I like to think about it this way, is that if Valve thought that the Xbox 360 could have handled it, and that it would have added value to the Xbox 360 version of the game, they would have done it, but because they didn't, they probably didn't think that it would have worked out that well. Maybe one day in the future we can get a Left 4 Dead 2 remastered and it can include the Last Stand update on consoles. That's the best way I can see this working. Scavenger could have been better than Versus mode, it's just that people never gave it a chance. Scavenger mode, I mean, Scavenger mode is not the worst game mode that Left 4 Dead has to offer, but it's definitely not a good one in comparison to Versus. I believe the biggest thing that turns people off from Scavenger mode is the fact that you can only play on one chapter in this little sandbox, and that's all you can do, whereas in Versus, you can proceed throughout the entire campaign. So not only are games longer, but you get to experience more, whereas Scavenger games are shorter, and you can only be confined into this little sandbox that the game is made for you. I feel like the people that like Scavenger mode are the people that like to play Special Infected, because this game mode is more biased towards Special Infected, in my opinion, because the Special Infected just have to wait for the survivors to go near the generator to fill it up with their gas can, and you can just wait them out. Whereas in Versus mode, you have to chase after the survivors, so it's a game of cat and mouse, which is a little bit more entertaining than just waiting in the shadows like Batman. But yeah, everybody, that was me reading and reacting to all of your Left 4 Dead 2 and Back 4 Blood hot takes, and I do truly hope you guys ended up enjoying it. If you did, please consider dropping a like, comment, subscribe, follow, and all that beautiful stuff. If you would like to see me do this as a full-time series, just let me know by dropping a like and subscribing if you are new. And if you have a hot take of your own that you want to have be featured in the next episode, just leave it here in the comment section down below, or you can also leave it within my Discord server, which is going to be linked down below in this video's description. But with all that being said, guys, I hope you end up enjoying seeing another YouTube video from the most unique YouTubers are ever going to see. Thanks for watching, guys. I love all of you, and peace out.
Hey, meme lords, Jesus here. And you better have enjoyed that video there by the eternal god Daddy Ninja. You should probably subscribe too, or the mighty Moab will come for your balls. If you enjoyed the video, you might like it too. And give me the memes. Flash, bang, boom!